All right, today we're tackling a really big one, a skill that's just, well, essential in pretty much any modern workplace. We're talking about how to lead people who don't actually report to you. So let's dive in and figure out how to become what we're calling an architect of persuasion.
I mean, think about it for a second. You know this feeling, right? You see the path forward, crystal clear. You've got this great idea, but the folks you need to get on board, they're your peers, your equals. They don't report to you. So what do? How do you lead without that official authority? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together today.
You know, the old leadership playbook was, well, pretty simple. It was all about top-down command. The boss says jump, you ask how high. But that's just not how it works anymore, is it? Today's world, it's all about peer influence. It's about persuading people across different teams, different departments. The entire game has changed.
And this is where it gets really tricky. You've got to persuade people when you have zero official authority over them. You're trying to build alignment, but not force everyone to think the same way. And you're often negotiating in this fog of ambiguity without all the facts. It's a serious balancing act, and it demands a totally different set of skills.
Okay, so how do you even begin to master this? Well, it all starts with what we're calling the art of peer persuasion. And honestly, the very first step, the most important one, is a huge mindset shift. It's about completely changing what it means to win a conversation. So what is peer persuasion, really? Look, it's not about bulldozing someone with your argument or just winning them over. It's about shaping a shared understanding. The real goal here is to get everyone, people from finance, tech, marketing, you name it, all looking at the same map, seeing the bigger picture, so you can build a coalition that actually wants to move in the same direction.
Yeah, this really just hits the nail on the head. If you walk into a room thinking, I'm going to win this argument, you've pretty much already lost. The real victory, the real mission, is helping everyone see the same problem, the same opportunity, and then blending all those different viewpoints into one single path forward.
All right, so the mindset makes sense, but how do you actually do it? Let's get practical. Let's open up the influence toolkit because there are two core skills you really need to get a handle on.
Yeah, this whole toolkit really stands on two main pillars. First, there's strategic communication. That's all about how you frame and package your ideas. And second, there's negotiation and ambiguity, which is about steering the ship when the water gets choppy and nobody knows what's next. Let's start with that first one, strategic communication.
Okay, so strategic communication, this is so much more than just talking at people. Think of it as the actual vehicle that carries your influence. It's the art of packaging your ideas in a way that doesn't just land. No, you need them to resonate, especially with people who see the world from a totally different perspective than you do.
And a huge part of this is learning how to frame trade-offs. So instead of making it a my way or the highway kind of choice, a zero-sum game, you turn a really complex decision into a story, a narrative. You're open about the risks, but you also highlight the opportunities, framing the whole thing not as a win-lose, but as finding a balanced path forward together.
Okay, now for skill number 2. And this is arguably the tougher one. We're talking about negotiation and ambiguity. You know those moments, right? The stakes are high, nobody has all the answers, and every single decision feels like a leap of faith. This, right here, is where great leaders really shine. So, how in the world do you navigate that chaos? You bring structure to it. You start with something called structured dialogue, which is just a fancy way of saying you make sure every single hidden assumption gets put on the table. Then you do some scenario planning. You basically game out a few different possible futures. And my favorite one, you do a pre-mortem. You literally pretend the project has already failed spectacularly, and then you work backward to figure out why. It's an amazing way to spot pitfalls before you even start.
But here's the thing. A great toolkit is totally useless if it's not built on a solid foundation. For any of these skills to actually work, they have to be standing on something real. So let's talk about the 3 foundational pillars that give your influence genuine power.
And first up, no surprise here, is trust. I mean, it all starts with trust. It's literally the currency of influence. Without it, your brilliant ideas, your perfect strategies, they're worth absolutely nothing. Your peers have to believe in you, both in your character and in your ability to get things done.
Next up, we have clarity. It's just not enough for people to know what you're suggesting. They have to understand the why behind it. When you have a really clear, compelling purpose, it acts like a magnet. It just pulls everyone toward that shared goal and cuts through all the noise and confusion.
And that brings us to our third and final pillar, adaptability. Look, real influence isn't a one-way broadcast. It's a two-way street. You have to be genuinely willing to listen, to let your own ideas change and evolve, and to bring in the good ideas from other people. Being rigid, that's just a guaranteed dead end every single time.
Okay, so let's say you do all this. You've got the toolkit down, you've built it on a strong foundation of trust, clarity, and adaptability. What's the big payoff? What's the ultimate leadership role you're aiming for here? Let's see what this all builds up to. The end goal is for you to become what's called the integrator of leadership energy. Now, I know that sounds a little grand, right? But stick with me because it's a really powerful way to think about what a real leader does in today's organizations.
So what on earth is an integrator? Well, think of the conductor of an orchestra. They take all these separate energies, all these different ideas and priorities from all over the company, and they don't just manage them, they channel them. They make sure that all those diverse perspectives don't just clash and create conflict, but that they come together, they converge into one powerful, unified action.
And that really leaves us with one last big question for you to take back to your team. So think about this. What is the single most important shared understanding that your team needs to build right now to get unstuck and move forward? If you can answer that question, you'll know exactly where to begin your journey as an architect of persuasion.